everyone. You are on the air and off the books with Bethann and Samantha, and today we are interviewing the amazing Maureen Johnson, author of Truly Devious. We actually just finished up interviewing her, and it was an amazing conversation. And we would like to once again say thank you to Maureen for taking the time to speak with us and for all of the fun that we had. We hope you enjoy it as much as we did. Now, on to the interview.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you today?
Good. So forgive, it's a little crazy here. I'm staying with my family. I'm helping them out. But it's all a little, my mom's about to go away for a couple of days. I'm helping take care of my dad. It's all kicking off over there. Dogs barking. So that's why I think
That's all right.
Big box
That's
of
perfect.
milk bones.
I love it.
That's all right.
Fantastic. I'm Bethann.
And I'm Samantha.
Hi.
And we're really excited to have you on today.
Yes, we're excited and really nervous.
We were
actually.
very nervous.
What are you nervous about?
So awesome. This is so cool. So
I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, well, thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah, we're super excited to talk about this book. Also,
We love the book.
it was fantastic.
For anybody that's listening, we recently read Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, who is with us today. We had the opportunity to talk to her a little bit about herself and the book, and we're really excited. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Maureen. I have written, I guess, a lot of YA novels. There's a bunch of them. I've done it for some time. I live in New York City with my husband, who is an English person, and my dog, who is just a ball of feelings and happiness and springs. She's down here with me now because I'm not currently in New York City. I'm with my parents down in Philadelphia. I'm lending a helping hand, and I am 100% certain at any point now this dog is going to be like, hey, are you talking? I need to be in that action. They're here to interview me, Dexy. That's who this interview is for. So
It's all about her.
Yes, exactly.
it is all about her. But, in a very good way. Dexy speaks in all caps. She's always saying, I love you, but it's what it comes out as so yeah, that's basically it. I write books. I love mysteries. I live the mystery lifestyle. I lived it so hard that I married someone from a murdery English village. And I ended up writing a book called Your Guide to Not Getting Murdered in a Quaint English Village that is in a large part based on his actual village that he comes from.
That's amazing.
So cool. I love that.
What kind of dog is
Yes.
her name Dexy?
She is a rescue mix. We got her when she was 8 weeks old, but she is a rescue puppy from Kentucky, which means that she is a little bit of everything. A little bit of spice, a little bit of beans, a little bit of hot peppers. She is a brindle mix. We think she's a North Carolina plot hound mixed with, which is a very particular type of brindley dog. And they are unafraid of anything. These dogs will track bears. They will fight a bear.
Oh my word.
They don't care.
At least if you come across a bear, she's got
Then
you. You know?
you're good. You're golden.
But she's always like, I got you. She's a big love muffin, but she's like, and when she sees people, she just curls up at their feet like a little shrimp. And because I live in New York and I work from home, I'm a writer. We go out for an hour a day. It's our hour walk that I refer to as our jobs. We go and do our jobs. I say, okay, we gotta go do jobs now. Oh, her ears perked up because I said it. And we go and we get coffee. Then she takes me on a walk to all the places in the East Village that are her friends that give her milk bone. So she then drags me to the fancy flower store. And then she takes me to just like various coffee stores, flower stores, the wine store,
So sweet.
the hardware store.
She knows where she's going.
I know she knows
The
what she
vet,
wants.
there's a vet that gives out as many fancy dried chicken treats as you want. We go there. We get many steps in, and she goes around and like grifts the whole neighborhood.
That's awesome. I love that.
She's an East
She's
Village
great.
dog. Yeah.
She's the main character.
She is.
Oh, she walks the streets of New York like, it's me, Dexy. I'm here. New York can open. It's time to start, everybody. I showed up.
I love that so much. So much. Okay. I like her.
So if anybody listening on here, this is going to release on June 1st.
Yes.
Our guy who edits the podcast, he's got to put stuff together, do whatever it is they do.
Editing magic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody will be able to listen to this on June 1st. And if you don't know, what inspired this all is that we picked up Truly Devious. This book has been on my shelf for a long time. And if anybody has ever known me or been to my house, I have 47 shelves of to be read. And so I'm like, you know what? This has been here too long. I am picking it up and opening it. So I read it, and then Bethann read it, and we were like, we love this.
Fantastic.
It kind of reminds me of like a Nancy Drew vibe, which I'm a huge fan of Nancy Drew. So I loved it. I gave it a 27 out of 10. Do you want to kind of give us a little synopsis of the book?
We're really bad at getting into book reviews on our podcast and then getting super excited and then going full steam ahead for all of our books. And they were like, wait, hold on, we have to back up.
Yeah, what's it
and
about?
We have to tell you about the book because we're so hyper about it.
Well, I, as a kid, was an obsessive mystery reader. I mean, truly I remember I was 4, I was given a little child's edition of The Hound of the Baskervilles. And it was the first full book I ever read. I remember sitting on the floor in my living room reading it, being blown away by this guy. I was a mystery obsessive. Every little mystery I could get my hands on, and then every big mystery I could get my hands on, and everything that had a puzzle, a solution at the end. Then I was eating every Agatha Christie in the library. Then I was eating everything else I could get my hands on. And I never wrote for a long time a pure mystery. Just a pure, flat out classic mystery. I don't know why. Sometimes I think you don't do the thing that's in your blood that you really love, that you're afraid you're going to get it wrong or something.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is in me.
Yeah.
So, and also I wasn't sure if people wanted, were ready for it. If I went to an editor, was like, I'm writing a straight up classic mystery. But I said, I want to write a straight up classic mystery. And I explained the premise. And that is that there is a girl named Stevie Bell. She is, she leads what she considers a very boring suburban life. She has anxiety. She is not always super good with people. And she very much wants to solve crimes. She's obsessed with things that are unsolved, with just that's out there in the world that could be figured out. Mm-hmm. And one of the things she's most obsessed with is a crime that took place at a place called Ellingham Academy in 1936. Ellingham Academy is this school in the mountains of Vermont. It's literally up on a mountainside. It was built by an incredibly rich man named Albert Ellingham, who wanted to build an experimental school that was free, and you didn't have to have any special qualifications to get there. You had to have something, and then they would kind of tailor your learning. And its school still exists. But in 1936, his wife and his daughter were kidnapped, and a student at the school went missing all in one night. And that what led from there was a series of ransom demands, things that went wrong. The one student was found dead. His wife was found dead, but his daughter was never found. And it was this crime of the century that kind of rips through the time, it rips through 1936. It's very dramatic, but it's unsolved to this day. Stevie's like, I want to get into Ellingham and solve this mystery. Yes. Because I believe that with modern techniques, basically the internet and someone on location, this actually could be done. And so she applies to Ellingham sort of on a wing and a prayer, they're never going to let me in. And they let her in. And she goes to Ellingham Academy, which starts with a junior and senior year. It's 2 years. And she tries to solve the mystery of what happened to Iris and Alice Ellingham and to Dottie Epstein, the student that was killed. And you see the crimes of the past. You get to see things like witness statements. You get different perspectives from the day of what happened. It's all very carefully designed. I'm letting you know, because you too can solve the crime. I like a solvable, I very much believe in fair play. So there's stuff in there to help you solve it. But while she's there, someone else at the school dies. And this sets off a chain of events. And it's all interrelated.
So good. Okay, so I'm gonna like shake things up a little bit because you said I really love all of your characters that you wrote for this particular book. Because I like that, because you just said you had to have a something. And I love that, like, these are normal to me. They're normal kids with things that they love, the things that they're interested in, their passions, like things like that. And like, I really love our main character because like I relate to her so much because the simple fact that she has anxiety,
she's like, very relatable.
She is. And it's because I feel like, oh, like I see myself in there. I see like a little bit of like, this is a teenager who has things that she wants to go for. She's trying to figure herself out, who has normal anxiety, like her sitting up at night and like how she goes into like, I know this is happening to me, but I don't know why this is happening to me.
Right.
Just like those particular parts I appreciated so much because like it made her like a real human being, like that I could just talk to and be like, yeah, I get that.
And you don't get a lot of that in other books. Like I feel like a lot of the times the main character is so like unrealistic, but I felt like Stevie was really relatable. And
she was trying to find herself too. You can see in that first book that she's trying to find who she is, and she's gaining confidence as she goes on through this mystery and things like that. I really love it. And I love the flashbacks back and forth.
I did too. Yeah.
And so I know that Dottie was kind of like, she likes the things that Stevie liked as well. Were they intentionally similar in a way?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dottie Epstein, the student from 1936, she's also brilliant. She's a very, very smart student. And one of the things about Ellingham is that money is one of the things that they say about is money's not an issue. Nobody pays to go there. No matter how much money you have, nobody pays to go there. So money is not an issue in terms of when you get to the school, everything has been paid for. Yeah. So everybody gets the same stuff.
And I love that concept too.
I mean, that's a concept I personally believe in.
Yeah.
So, but there's also the point that Albert Ellingham, because he's so rich, can kind of do what he wants. And that, so, that there's this whole, rich people can make this, he can do what he wants because he has a lot of money.
Right. And I liked that it, like them going to the school and them all bringing in their different things, but it kind of equalized them because they had like the same mental playing field because there wasn't any, like, I mean, there were strings, but not like the monetary strings like she talks about in the book, because she can tell that there are differences between her and other people, and she notices those things. But like mentally, they're all on the same playing field to be able to learn and grow and like at their own pace and do these different projects and things like that.
I wanted to remove I wanted to give people a place that they could go to that removes some of the external competitive metrics that kids go through. Like, this is not about testing or passing certain classes. Like, every class here is different.
Right.
Everybody's coming literally from a different place with a different set of skills.
I loved that.
So they're not all reaching for the same ring. They're absolutely all doing different things.
Yes, I love that so much.
And I always wonder, like, when people write thriller, mystery, crime novels, is it really hard to plant clues along the way and like remember back, like, okay, I wrote this, I got to remember that this has to go with this?
Is there a lot of back and forth, or that? Yeah, because is it because you have a passion for the mystery?
I do.
Was it so natural for you? Just like, this is just everything.
I have a way. I start with, so when I start a mystery, any of these, and now I've written several Stevie Bells, I'm writing a new separate one. There's more Stevie Bells. I have a very precise way, which is that I start from the dead center with nothing around me. And the questions are who, why, and how.
Okay.
Basically. And I ignore who and how for a minute and always begin with why. I start with absolutely nothing else but why.
Okay.
And from there, I start adding in my how and my who. And I build this little tiny mechanism at the middle. It's very precise. It's exactly what happened and why. And then I kind of build out from the center, kind of little tiny like I'm doing very
Yeah.
precise jeweling work or something and building a little clockwork. Until I've built this entire thing, I do nothing else. I'll take little sketch notes around, because the way I see mysteries is it's a central little golden thing in the center, a little machine that goes,
Yeah.
and that's the central event. That's the central crime that's happened. The who, what, why, and how is all just in there.
Mhm.
Clues are things that fly off this. As you get away from the center, you go further and further out in time from the event. The event is harder to reach, and you get more, just like imagine a fire with stuff flying off of it, like a little
Yeah.
piece of paper flies off into the breeze. There's a stick, and you have to kind of pick up the stuff and wind your way back into the
Back into
center.
it. Okay.
So I always have the whole what happened, how it happened, all of it written out. I usually have a case file, I have solution files, I have all kinds of information, and I don't write in order. So
Love that.
I
Makes sense.
I build it out. So I also write in Scrivener, so I can put different. I never ever write, never written order, never once. So I write little sections of things, and I can kind of figure out how I want where things to go in. And then as things develop, you can go, okay, I can actually link this and draw a string down to here. I can link this and draw a string down to here. I'd be good. And you pick up a little clue and you're like, I'll just drop that right there in 3, scooch it down a little bit. Perfect. There's a lot of that. As you can see, I'm moving my hands a lot, but I really can see this all very clearly in my head.
But I think that's what makes writing an art form. And that's what people don't see, though, is that you peel back that, and then you really get to see inside like the heart and the mind of an author and the way that their process is. And it's like painting or drawing a picture, because you can visualize that process when you explain it. But when I'm looking at the item as a whole, like it's so like
crazy.
It is, because it's just like this is so crazy how you got to this point, or like trying to decipher, like, okay, you had to go from here to here to here, and me intimidated by the writing process.
Yeah.
You think that you have
100%.
to start like this chronological thing, and
no,
you can't move forward.
And that's how it's so interesting to see how like other, like you and all these other authors, like how their writing process is, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, like I gotta type from
here,
page
point
1
A to point B.
page 400.
Never in my life have I done it.
Yeah, but it's just so like,
and it's come natural to
crazy.
you that way,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Never. Yeah. I used to write, even my papers in college, I would write that way.
see,
and I
feel
wish
like,
I had a mind like that.
I know, it's so clever.
I think I'm just so worried that I'm gonna like disappoint, that I'm like, you know what, it's gonna be what it is. So I've gotta,
But then I think you have to take the expectation of that out, because then you're starting with, because it's about what you want and what you want to say. So that's where you have to start.
You write how you write. Like nobody, that's why I've tried writing in sequence. I'm like, how do people do this? This is insane. Like I can, my brain doesn't work this way. I have little sections. Like sometimes I see I'm like, oh, this needs to happen. So what's great about Scrivener is that I can build files on the side,
right.
which is, if you've never used it, a lot of writers I know use it, is a great program. And basically all it is you can use it to write anything from a short story to a novel to a screenplay or whatever. Don't worry about all the formatting stuff. The great part is it has a sidebar where you can have as many files as you want. And then you can, if you want, in my case, I create little folders, sections.
So file away your information,
or even color code. Like all I do is like the greens are the flashback scenes. So I can see, approximately where I'm placing the flashback scenes and time. Cause I try to aim for the same kind of interval.
Flow. I think that's a great piece of advice too for our writers group, because we have a writers group here that our teen librarian does and they meet every Thursday, and they sit down and they do creative writing exercises, and they work on their own personal things. I think that's something that we could show them, especially like this podcast, because then they can feel a little bit more free to just kind of move to create a story, put things together. That's really awesome. I have a piece of writing advice. Don't follow writing advice. You write how you write. Seriously. Okay. Yes.
I mean, you can go, I have an MFA in writing. Does anyone care? No. Like, what did it do? I'll tell you actually what the secret of the MFA of writing is. I discovered it at the end, and I whispered it in one of my thesis sessions with my thesis advisor. I was like, I think I figured it out. This is all about who to listen to. And he's like, bingo. So yeah, it's not so much that they're teaching you how to write. They're showing you blocks of how other people have written, things you can take apart, but then they put you in these workshop groups where 10 people will have 10 entire different opinions.
Right.
You give your piece and they're like, I love the piece. I need more of the mother. The second person will be like, I love the piece. Cut the mother. The third person is like, I hated the piece. Was there a mother in it? The fourth person will be like, turn the mother into a chicken. And you'll get all of this different advice and you'll go home and go like, what was that? I don't know what that was about. But the whole point is you get a lot of that. You do that a lot of times until you develop this inner kind of radar, like this little internal thing that tells you how to parse that and what frequencies of that work with what it is you're trying to do. Because it's like you're tuning your ear. It's like you're learning to hear pitch or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's sort of what the secret of it all was. Also, I talk people out of MFAs all the time. It's like my passion is talking people out of MFA. If you have MFA, that's great. I got one too. It's just that I tend to think they're very expensive. And sometimes they don't teach you. They're not like, now you're a writer. You can sort of learn a lot of this stuff on your own. And then you'll have more money to write because you can't write all the time if you have no money. And then you have to work constantly because you're paying off an MFA. So
it is a big job. I've seen like in some different people that I've talked to, like they pour so much of their soul, their time, their effort into creating these people, these characters. And you guys live with these characters too. Like they are part of your world all the time. And so you pour yourself, it's like bearing your soul to the whole world. So you want to be able to dedicate yourself to that because it is so special. So then would it be safe to say that Stevie is like kind of not a mirror, but like a lot of you is in her, or that you feel like that connection, that kinship with her?
I feel a kinship with all of them. I mean, I've written a lot of main characters. There's probably a little bit of me in all of them.
Yeah,
but one thing, for example, Stevie has anxiety. It is not a defining character trait. It's just there because I had anxiety. It turns out I had this, we didn't know, but I had an internal bleed for a long time. And I had this crazy form of anemia that manifested finally in these massive, constant, rolling, nonstop panic attacks. Like,
oh my gosh.
It was, but if you've been through it, you've been through it. Like, it is awful.
Yeah.
It night, day, didn't matter. Shocks down my arms, like constant, like, whoa. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, brain, this is what you're gonna do. I guess we're gonna roll with it. I wrote a book through it, like, and I was like, this is super dumb, but I guess we're just gonna do this. This is just gonna be, and I kind of imagined it like a big kind of cartoon monster that followed me around, and it was really, it didn't know what to be frightened of, because it was like shoes, it was always frightened of things, and I'm like, okay, you must, just
calm down a little bit. Yeah.
When you realize it's not going to hurt you and it's just this thing that you have, like it's a weird pet. Then I kind of just worked with it. And I just wanted it to be like, she just has this thing. And then she goes about her day. Like,
yes. And that's what I like. It's because it's not like this. You're right. It's not this crippling thing. She is able to like, okay, this is, like you said, this is happening and we're going on. And I feel like that's so hard for some people to learn though. And it's such a good example of like, she has these goals, these dreams, and things are not going to stand in the way of her being able to get to those things that she loves, that she's truly passionate about. And I really admire that.
Also, a lot of kids have anxiety. So I'm like, hey, listen, it can just be this thing you have. And we're all just going to like, hey, I got it too. Come on, let's party. Like, it's fun.
Yeah. I love that.
You want to go. And if you're at this party with us and you're having your panic attack, it's fine. Just vibe with it. Well, I'll just vibe with you. Like,
right. Exactly. We'll just do the thing and then it's going to go and then we're just going to keep rolling on.
Then we'll just keep going. It's fine. Like, it's not embarrassing. They always stop. They won't hurt you. And actually you are the boss of it. You just have to learn you're the boss of it.
We need more people like you. Yes. Shout it out to the whole. I love it. I'm like, yes.
Okay, who was the most difficult character for you to write?
David.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest is probably Nate, the writer. So one of her, Stevie's friends in her dorm is in her house, Minerva, that she lives in, is Nate. Nate wrote a book when he was 14. Like, he just kind of was messing around online. He wrote this book that it was fan fiction or sort of, and then he just was publishing it online and became successful. It got published. And then he became a thing and they want him to write a second book. And Nate spends all of his time trying not to write the second book because he's terrified.
Yes, I love that.
So Nate is always like, he's always not writing.
Nate just cracked me up through the entire book. He was just like, I have no time for any of this.
Yeah, he is every writer.
Yes.
And I love like visualizing his facial expressions through some things. He's
just like deadpan, like we're not doing this today.
He meets a fan in the box in the woods. That doesn't go well.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, he is awesome.
So
why was David so hard to write?
Romance is always the part where you have to pin me down. So a bunch of my really good friends were all writers and we work together. We go places together to work and help each other out. So part of my writers group is Cassie Clare, Holly Black, Kelly Link, Robin Wasserman, Lee Bardugo. So
Nice.
It's a good workshop group. That's sort of the people that tend to be in around the most. But Holly Black, let me tell you about Holly Black. Holly Black is a genius. She's an actual legit full-on genius. She is also the Dr. House of books. Like whatever is wrong with your book, she will discover it. Huh. Holly does things like if you send her an email at midnight, says my book is broken, I don't know what's wrong with it. She says, send it to me and then call me at 4 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And then you call her at 4 a.m. and she knows what's wrong with your book. And it's never what you thought it was. She only ever wants, when you meet Holly, she's like, what are you writing? Let's work on it. Like Holly's displacement technique is wanting to work on other people's books, but she's super good at it. Mm-hmm. She's brilliant. So when I was working on the romance for this, she sidled up to me in a hot tub. She's tell me about the romance. I was like, no. And I kept trying to get away, but it was small. And I was like, I can't escape. And she's like,
the hot tub is the perfect moment.
You can't get away from me. You must tell me your romance plot. I tried to go under the water. It was too hot. I was like, no. Air outside was too cold. I was like, I'm trapped.
She knew how to get you. She knew.
One time we worked out. So she was like, let's just talk about this. And so I was at her house this time and she has a giant dining room table, this big table, and she's installed a roll of butcher's paper at the end so she can like roll out these big brown strips of paper.
It's genius.
And she was like, it was like around 11 o'clock at night. And she was like, okay. And she filled the table with paper, plunked down a mug full of crayons and said, let's go, let's dance, let's talk. And we talked through, I told her everything I knew about everything that was going to happen with all of these characters throughout the next couple books in terms of their personal lives. And she wrote down what I was writing. And then we were like, oh, then that pattern's here. And like, and then she ripped it off and handed it to me and I took it home and I have it. I turned it into a small chart and it's on my wall. So, awesome. But you really have to kind of really jump on my back and pin me to the floor sometimes to get to do the romance.
That's just like her.
I will do the mystery all day long, but when it gets romance, I'm like,
it's so hard.
It's so hard. It is the part where you really genuinely, I have been pinned.
So do you not like reading romance? Because she does not. She will not read romance.
It's just, I don't know.
I'm like, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they tried to figure out, they had a committee meeting, like find out what Maureen likes in terms of romance. They're like, what romance tropes do you like? And I was like, I can't think of anything. Anything. They're like, you got to have one. And it turns out mine is really stupid characters having to have a romance. Like my ideal romance is Bertie Wooster and this, oh God, what's the name of this particular? Bertie Wooster is a famously not very bright character in P.G. Wodehouse. And this woman keeps trying to like be his girlfriend and is his girlfriend and does things like sneaks up behind him and covers her eyes and goes, guess who? And I'm like, that's it. They're like, we can work with that. And then they found me every romance book that had that thing. They found me one, I think it was by, who wrote like The Moth and it's a really famous, very, very prolific person that writes a lot of Regency romances. In any case, this main character, like the guy that she was going to marry, at one point, He's just sitting in the corner eating a piece of paper. I'm like, that's my guy. We found him. Yes.
That's fantastic.
That's hilarious.
We've done it. You cracked it.
Found him.
I think it was a book called Cotillion they gave me. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's a very well-known book. But yeah, I think that's the one they gave me. And I was like, now someone finally understands me.
The perfect romance.
I love that. I love that I'm not the only person who it's nice to know that I'm not alone out there.
I am like very clinically, I mean, in the old rules of mystery, you weren't supposed to have romances in them. And there was like no romance. Now there is one successful, really, really successful classic mystery that has a romance strewn throughout all of them. And that is Lord Peter Wimsey and Harriet Vane. Was written by Dorothy L. Sayers. That's a full-on, those books are amazing. She's brilliant. And there is a romance that goes on through all of them. They meet when she's on the stand for murder.
Perfect.
And then one, he doesn't really even show up very much at all. And it's about her going back to her women's college. Like there was a women's college at Oxford that she attended. And it's about sort of the politics of women's education. And it's more like a meditation on it's called Gaudy Night. It's a mystery, but it's a very famous one about women in universities. It's really good. It can be done. You just have to pin me to the floor to do it.
I love that.
And then if I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then I get the knives out. I'm like, ugh.
It's like, all right, let's go for it.
Torture.
That's fantastic. I love it. So then your writing group, do they help influence your writing style then? Or is it just like this awesome, like
friend group?
Yeah.
Just get.
We travel together. Cassie tends to get places and then we will go off for a while and just write. So I'm very lucky to have a friend that's like, hey, come on, let's go. We're going to Costa Rica. And then there's a house and you just show up. And then they're always puzzled with us because these are always like vacation houses. And we roll up and they're like, surfboard? And we're like, nope. And we're just sitting there typing all day. And they're like, what? We don't know what to do with them. Like margarita. And we're like, no, we're just going to drink water and with coffee, just coffee. And then we just write all day. And then eventually they get used to us. They're like, they're very easy. They just sit around all day. They type. And then they have really weird conversations at meals. Like, I think the last one we went on, I remember a lot of the times we were talking about the trend of spider romances.
Spider
romances?
There's a whole thing on like a lot of the Kindle Unlimited books. There's a lot of that, like the self-published romance community that's really thriving, but certain genres pop up and spider romance was huge. And I was like, tell me more about the spider romance. I could submit. All right. I'm not interested. So yeah, just, all these things. These are how I find out about like things like spider romance.
This is the first time I've heard about spider romance.
Romances have been like, especially fantasy romance now.
There's a lot of monster romance. Yeah.
Yes. And like when I search for people through the library for our patrons and things like that, and they're looking for specific things, and I'm logged into my Amazon, which is a mistake because it tailors everything to you. I get all of these recommendations. I'm like, that is interesting. What is this? And then I get to read. I'm like, oh, but it is. It's like this huge trend. But okay, now I'm not going to say I'm not going to look it up.
I'm definitely Googling this.
Yeah, it's like monster romance. There's a whole I'm a solitary creature. I'm a very happy solitary creature, just kind of, but it's good. Like when they get there, they kind of will pin me down and be like, Maureen.
Yeah.
And then just talking all the time and just being around and just having a break. Just because there's so much of the writing life, nobody tells you is that there's a surprising amount of paperwork involved, like just stuff you have to do constantly. And just getting the time that's just protected is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I would be without my friends, honestly, because they're just my friends. So
yeah,
but they're friends that do the same thing. So together,
you have that interconnected support group and that friendship. So it's just like a beautiful package all in one.
I mean, for example, when I live in the middle of New York City, when COVID hit and when it first hit New York and it was so bad, and we really live in the center of that. We live around a lot of hospitals,
Oh, yeah.
Frankly, we lived where like the portable morgues were all around us. It was in that first week, we had to decide whether we were going to stay or leave.
Right.
And what to do. Because it was like, we do not know what's about to happen here in New York. And it was bad. Right. And Holly called and said, we've made a plan. She and her husband were going to drive down, each drive one of their cars. And then they would leave the one car, Lysol it out, air it out, and leave it, and give that car to us. And they said, and you just grab your stuff and the dog and everything and follow us back up. And you can live in Cassie's like writing barn. She has like a barn. Cool. It's like a really beautiful furnished barn. She's like, and we figured it out and you'll live there and you'll be safe. They had completely made an exit strategy for me.
That's amazing.
Great.
We thought about it.
Yes, right.
I mean, yeah, they're like, we are ready to get in the car now.
Yeah.
We will drive to you now to help you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's that kind of stuff. We ended up thinking like, I think we actually have to stay and ride this out. Like we also may already be infected. We don't know. It was like the zombie part at that point. We're like, we don't know. We just don't know.
Wild ride.
I don't want to take it there. So, but I mean, it's that kind of thing where they always have your back. So
that's amazing.
Those are hard friendships to come by.
Yeah. So the fact that Holly's now on the top of the world, I'm like, correct. That's correct, world. That is exactly the right thing to do.
That's right.
I'm like, ding, ding. Good move, world.
That's right. Let's see. I know that you said I read a couple interviews and it says that you already have books. Is it 6 and 7 planned out?
Yes.
And so I'm curious, is this going to organically go as long as you desire for it to go?
I think.
Do you have like
Yeah, I have a plan. I mean, the next book coming out is a non-Stevie book. Because I proposed 3 at once, 1 non-Stevie and 2 Stevie. And then we decided to kind of, in the ordering of them in the publishing schedule, I was like, I think we should do the non-Stevie one next. And then the Stevie one, next Stevie one, Stevie 6 right after that. So the next book coming out is a complete standalone. It's a one and done called Death at Morning House. So that's what's next. And yes, I have all the contours. And then once I really get into it, I sit like a crazy bomb maker, just like, just making the thing is, you don't see anything from me for a while. And you're like, what's she doing? And I'm just like building the little thing.
Yeah.
Nobody can get a book from me for a while because it's not a book, it's pieces. Right. And then I've built them in so many sections. And then suddenly it's like, brrr, and they're like, where did it come from? I'm like, well, I was assembling all the pieces.
Right.
And then I start putting the pieces together and I start sewing the pieces together. Then I do the fine embroidery on the pieces. Then I do the final touching on the pieces. Then I do the adding, it's like I'm making a quilt or something. I'm like, okay, I'm making all the things. And then I add all the little stitching and then I put this here. And so, but for a while, they're like, where's book? And I'm like, book is parts. Parts
is here. But not
book
here.
Is bag of parts. You like parts? So many of my editors have seen this bag of parts and going, I'm like, it's parts, it's book. It's not book yet, it's parts. But
it'll come together,
Soon book. This is how I write book.
That is fantastic.
People learn how to work with me and they're like, it's just how she does it. Don't worry, she'll give it to you.
Yeah. Do you plan on the series being more than 7 books?
At this point, I don't know. I think the 7th one will probably be the final case, but I do not know. Because there are ways it could continue, but I'm not sure. I think the way I've designed it is probably going to end with that 7th one.
Oh, okay. So, because that led me to wonder, because this is your longest running series. Am I correct to say that?
Mm-hmm.
So would this be like, and I know I can't ask because it's like picking children and picking favorites and all this stuff like that, but is this something that like, you're super passionate, something that, I don't want to say magnum opus, but like your grant, like this is like what
I really just want to keep writing lots and lots of mysteries.
Okay.
For example, I had the Shades of London series, which I love. The problem was I got really sick. Like that's the trouble, is that I had a major medical issue when I was writing that series.
Yeah.
And it got delayed. And because it got delayed, it basically exploded off the publishing schedule, which is why it never got finished. And I've been trying to finish it all this time. I'm like, it's so publishing you have to wrestle with. Like, I'm like, is the lesson never get sick? I don't know. But I had a really bad medical issue. So I love that series. And I'm like, I will finish it, even if I'm writing this book for 2 people. I get a lot, to be fair though, I get a lot of questions about those books. I get them almost every day. People are like, are you going to write the last ones? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to.
Right. Well, seems like there's a lot of demands, like you said, because it's not just sitting down and writing, it's working with a bunch of people to try to get things published and like putting them out there. And like,
I have the good problems that I have a lot of books under contract. I have a lot of things to write. It's just, there's a lot of stuff people don't tell you. And I really believe that if you do have writing education, there should be a mandatory class on the business of writing.
Right.
How to handle your time and how to handle agents, contracts, how to look at a marketing plan. Like, it doesn't have to, the MFA I went to was like, how we are artists, we would never do. I'm like, yeah, but you're not ruining anybody by telling them, like, if they have a book published, they're going to need to know what to do.
Right. Yeah. And that's a big thing we've learned talking to people, because nobody ever sees that. You're right. Nobody ever gets to actually look at that side of it unless you're in it and you're like going through it and it's happening to you actively.
And I see a lot of advice on the internet when people are like, hey, newbie writers, this is how it happens. And I've been seeing this for years. And I'm like, I'm like that gift of like, that's not how any of this works. Like, they're like, if your book doesn't have $100,000 marketing budget, you're doomed. I'm like, who is telling you this? No, stop. No more internet. No more Dr. Google. No.
Cut it off.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, it's bad for you and it's not real. I've seen so many classes of Debs like get terrible information and then infighting and like confusion. Like, people need real information about what it's like. Yeah. Because none of this is helpful.
Right. And I think it kind of discourages people from taking that jump into trying to do something that they're passionate about and that they love, because maybe like, oh yeah, I could write it, but then what am I going to do with it after that? Like, no.
Writing and publishing are 2 entirely different things. That's the biggest lesson to learn. Writing is writing, and then publishing is publishing. They are connected, but not. Right. They are separate things, and you got to learn them separately.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, I'd like to be an advocate for writers and readers, and just say, like, I want to defend the money and the time and the integrity of writers. I don't want it taken on scams. I don't want depleted by certain courses that won't help them. Some are great, some are not.
Yeah.
And just not being let down or frightened by bad information.
Yeah.
This is something I'm very, very passionate about.
Yeah,
my mother is going. I'm just waving goodbye. You look very nice.
Goodbye.
The coat, I got my mother a coat for Christmas, and it looks 10 out of 10.
Oh, good. It's cold.
You look great. Okay, have fun. I bought her, I spent, because my husband's English, we actually spent Christmas in the UK last year, which is the first time we usually go before or after, but we actually spent it there. But to sort of make it up, I bought my mom all these gifts in London, including a fancy raincoat she was just wearing. She's like, my raincoat. Ooh. But yeah, I get very angry about it. I'm a very bullshit person, as they say. I'm like, just the workers. Yeah. But there's a lot of bad information. You need to protect your writing time. And just don't believe everything you read on the internet about how publishing works.
Right.
A lot of the people talking about it have no idea. They may seem like they know what they're talking about. Listen, I've been watching this. I feel like I've been in a spectator box a long time going, no.
Like that.
Nope. Don't let people tell you how to write. Don't let people tell you that unless it's like certain people that's like, here is some stuff about publishing. I am an editor. This is where I work.
Yeah.
I will tell you a couple of things. And even then, it may not all be all right. Don't even listen to me about this. You know what I mean? Like,
just listen to absolutely no one.
Well, take it all. Measure your information, measure your sources.
Right.
But anything that tells you that it's all doomed is nonsense. anything that tells you like you absolutely need certain things to get your book published. Bullshit. Sorry, can I curse? All right, nonsense.
you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anybody's like, this is the only thing that will work, or this is the only thing that they buy, or this is the no. Don't listen to those people. They don't know what they're talking about. Get out. Get out.
Run away. It's a trap. Yeah.
Publishing's weird. Publishing's super weird. And in many ways, it has nothing to do with writing. Like how sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So it's a really weird thing to be in.
Would you say that's like the most, I don't want to say like intimidating, but like the most stressful, I guess, part of writing?
No. Basically what I walked in knowing nothing and had to learn from like, suddenly I had 5 books under contract and no idea what was happening.
Oh,
luckily I knew one agent and she helped me through, but like, it was a mess.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
But in the same way, I wasn't frightened because I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out.
Right.
I was a person who got a lot of jobs that was like, I can do this job. I am now here. I will figure out how to do this job. Like that was like, I'm like, I know how to do that. I do not know how to do that. So
confidence.
I know how to waitress. I do not know how to waitress. Like I just
fake it till you make it until you're a pro.
Yeah. And you're never out and you're never, it's like if something goes wrong, it's not over. You just things roll on.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. And also if you get rejections, enjoy it. That's all part of it. And enjoy the fact, and you're like, I'm writing terribly. Great. Everybody writes terribly. The process of all books is that they're terrible. Like you always write terribly. Great. You're doing a great job because you just write. Usually writing is terrible. And then you work on it and you revise it and it gets better and it improves. But if you're like, I'm writing terribly, I'm like, that is the best news I could hear.
Yeah.
That's why it reminds me of Ben.
That's what I told you the other day, because we have like we're starting up like a blog for our library where we're gonna be writing book reviews, and I was writing up like one of my first book reviews and I sent it to Bethann. I was like, this is crap, but tell me what you think.
Good. Perfect.
Because you're right. You have to go in, you have to do it, or you won't learn.
But I mean, literally every book is bad. Like no book is good when it's just that you start something. It's all materials. You're making material.
Yeah.
You are literally, all process is messy. So it's not like there's no neat process. So don't worry about it.
That's good. That's great. I love it.
So these are my beliefs, like people should embrace being terrible. And
fantastic.
Yeah, because there's this weird idea that like people think that you're just going to start writing and be great at it. I'm like,
yeah.
But like, we wouldn't expect someone to sit down at a piano and be like, I know how to play this. Like, no, you just actually have to learn and play it. And then even when you are a writer who has written many, many books, and people are like, look, a writer, she's been on New York Times. Look, she's the writer. I'm still like, terrible writing. Because that's the job.
I love it.
Your job is to make a mess and then build, like you're building materials. You're literally creating your own clay. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Be messy. Don't worry about stuff so much.
I like that. Very good advice.
Is there anybody who, not necessarily like have to be like a famous author or anything like that, or it could be like a family member. Is there anybody who has inspired you or influenced your writing along the way?
I have to say, family wise, I sort of came out of nowhere because I have a very non-artistic family. And I was the only child, and I just sort of showed up like this. And they're like, that's just how you arrived. Like, that's just you. But I take inspiration I just like to look at things. I just like to look around. I also went to theater school. I mean, really, I was like, I really have a commitment to being poor. Let's go. But that really trains you to look and not look down, but look up, look around all the time, look at things and watch how they move, how they operate, how they change. When you work with staging, you have to think about, I had this one professor, she's kind of a famous theater professor. Her name is Anne Bogart. And she had this theory in course called perspectives it wasn't perspectives. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I've forgotten the name of what her system is, but basically it's all the dimensions of stage work: forward, backward, side to side, up and down. But it's also like horizontal movements and sound and absence of sound and like all of these different ways of working with. And once you start working with things like that, I find that very inspirational to really look and to just kind of be a weirdo is sort of my best advice.
That's great.
Your job is to look, your job is to make a mess. Your job is not to be pristine and think you're super, if you're crafting something, you're messy. So put on your apron and work and like get messy.
That's great advice. We needed that advice today.
We did. We really did.
We're so guilty of being perfectionists. We're so worried.
And we're not even perfect.
Like our podcast, like 95% of the time is chaotic. We're like, we'll start talking about something. The next thing you know, we're talking about like
good
peanut butter sandwiches.
I think that's the thing though, is that when you really love something, and then that's the misconceptions, you really love something and you have to pour everything into it. And then in your mind, in some way that you have to uphold it, it has to be this perfect, beautiful, like thing because it's so precious. But just because it's precious doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be, it can't be organic. It can't be everything. It can't be. So it's a great lesson because it just shows you that you can be yourself, that you can love what you do. You can be messy, you can have fun in doing it, and you can learn things along the way constantly. Like you're never going to stop learning anyway. So it doesn't.
Right. It is organic. I like a big shaggy garden. I like.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this last night because I was like, I need to use Instagram more. It's like one of my failings. I'm like, I gotta use Instagram more. But I was like, some authors have like beautiful photos and the standing in front of beautiful walls. I'm like, that's not me. None of that is me. I'm like, I am like Marie Kondo. I love mess. Like I do. I love mess. I'm like, that's what I should be doing. It's just messygram, like
messygram. Yeah.
That's my mood. So I've decided that's what I'm going to do.
I love
and my pictures may be more random than they are of stuff because I take more pictures of stuff and 90% of them are of that little monster right there. But just stuff that I see that I'm thinking about, or if they're pictures of me, I don't wear a lot of makeup or anything. Like I'm like, look, you get what you get. I'm making stuff over here. Let's make stuff together.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a dirty hippie.
Yeah.
I like it.
I love that.
Just whoever you are. And if you are eyelashes and beauty, great. I love that too.
Yeah.
If that's your thing, that's your process, that's your identity, good.
Embrace it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you need, but you don't have to be anything in particular. Sort of whatever. Like if someone like me can do this, you can do it.
See, there you go.
We can do it.
We can do it. I love it. That was fantastic.
Yeah. We really enjoyed talking to you today.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
we're
you.
super excited to have you on here. I think it was great.
It was wonderful. And thank you for taking the time and sitting down with us. Like, I love that you're willing and other authors are willing to sit down and talk to us because our community here in Kokomo, we're not New York.
We're small.
We're small. But there are so many wonderful things that we want to give to the community, reach out and like show them and stuff, and being able to talk and to see and I don't know, normalize it, because sometimes we like, because that's what we did. We hyped ourselves up. This is Maureen Johnson. She's going to be awesome. And what if we're like, I don't know,
we're
like,
just a bunch of losers.
She's going to get on. I don't know what we're going to say. We're going to fumble it up. But like to be able to give this to people, to be able to see and talk and just like learn those experiences, share these things with people. It's wonderful that you were able to and willing to do that with us, and that we can share those things with everyone. And I really love it. It's fantastic. It really warmed my heart up, and I appreciate it. And I love meeting the pup.
I mean, libraries are under attack. You guys are where it's at. You are the community center. You're the community hub, and you need to be protected. And the job you do is super hard.
Yes.
And more than ever, the library. Go to it, support it. Remember a lot of people want to take it away.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the issue. And we just want to raise more awareness and put ourselves out there so that people can pick things up, read them, that they know that they can come here and get any knowledge that they want, have access to the things that they need, because it's about community too. And it's about being that central part of where we live and being those arms that outstretch, outreach for the young adults, for the kids, for the parents. I mean, we offer things for everyone all the time.
Literally all the time.
Going around the country and seeing a lot of libraries has been an eye-opening experience just to see what kind of services are provided. They're like, here is a room where people can come and work, do their work from home every day. Here is a room where they can record or do Zooms or record their podcasts or conduct interviews or whatever. Here's where we teach people how to use computers. Here's where we help them fill out their job applications. Here is where my dog barks. Here is where you can rent musical instruments. Here is where kids can come and play, or anybody, I guess, but probably in a young adult section can play video games. Here is where you can help learn English. Here's where you can help learn another language. Here's where we will help victims of interpersonal violence get assistance. Here is where we help someone try to get assistance for food. Here, they're becoming the catch-alls for everything. So when you go in and use the library, it becomes harder to close.
Yes.
And we are not just books. Like people, it's so funny. Like people are always asking me, what do you do at the library?
Everything.
And read. And
I'm
like, you wouldn't believe the kind of stuff that we would do.
All the librarians who've trained on Narcan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
Narcan resources. Just human resources, helping people get jobs, money, food, housing, loneliness. Right. It's a cure for loneliness.
Yes.
Yep.
So when you go in, the more times you go through the doorways, the more important the library becomes and the harder it becomes for other people to close it.
Yes.
Please go through the doors.
Yeah.
Yes. And like I said, it's awesome that we're able to speak with you today because it shows people like the little bit of magic that you're putting on our shelves, that they can talk to the person behind that, get that inspiration to be able to come and do more and write here or write at home or
best place to write. Go and write. That way, all the things you want to think about and pick up, all the books are, get up and be like, oh, what happened in that one book that was so interesting? Like you just go over, find it, be like, oh yeah, that's right. There's a dragon. Put that back. There's another one with a bat. Like you can go over and look at that. Like they're all there. It's great.
Exactly. All at your disposal, all at your fingertips.
All at your disposal. It costs you nothing.
Exactly.
Don't cost nothing. Get in there, use the magic. It's like a giant magic factory that literally bad people want to shut down. So get in there.
We agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. It's unfortunate.
It is. But
sure is.
We're working hard to put the magic back.
Yeah. Yep.
Get it out there farther.
We try to super promote our library. So,
and that's another reason why we do the podcast too, is so that people can find more ways to be able to get their hands on things.
Yep.
Well, I look forward to visiting your library someday.
Yes, we would love that.
That would be so awesome.
And we're going to be here till we die. So
I got you.
We'll be around.
So again, thank you, Maureen, for joining us.
Thank you.
Everybody pick up Truly Devious.
You can find that on Hoopla as an audiobook. We have that for free on Overdrive for you to use with your library card.
Don't pay for it.
Free.
Exactly. You just put your library card in. You can listen to the audiobook. You can read the ebook on Overdrive/Libby. And then you can come in.
Oh God, I love Libby.
I. Yes. It's my favorite thing ever.
I get a little alert on my phone, like your book is here. I'm like, yes.
I know. I love it so much.
Authors use Libby, and people ask me, they're like, do authors does it bother you that people go to the library instead of paying? I'm like, are you kidding me? Books, I mean, the fact that people buy it means that I get to live and pay for dog food. And so it is really meaningful for me when you buy it. I really, really appreciate it. At the same time, my concept is books should cost you nothing and you should be able to read them. So like, I'm like, are you kidding me? When you read at the library, that's the best news I've heard.
Yes. Awesome. I love it.
All right. Well, you guys, we gave you 47 ways to read Truly Devious. So there's no excuses. Pick it up.
You have to pick it up and you have to tell us what you think. Talk to us about it. Start a conversation with us. Email us. Come upstairs and just be like, where's Bethann and Samantha? Like,
we're here.
We're here. Come on over.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.